All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling Pope Julius II.
A fascinating figure, to say the least.
You sent over some really cool material for this, a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It's called, hang on, I wrote it down, AEO, Giulio II raccontato da Massimo Rosbacher, Albisola, 1443, Roma, 1513.
Quite a mouthful.
And it's from the channel Ica.
Great channel.
So using this video, I want to try to figure out, with your help, of course, was Julius II a warrior pope?
Or a Renaissance prince.
Exactly. Because he seems to be a bit of both, right?
He embodies that tension so well.
The video mentions that when he died, people were rushing to kiss his feet.
Yeah, he was quite popular, surprisingly.
But he also led armies into battle. I mean, how often do you see a pope on the battlefield?
That's what makes him so interesting, right? This is the Renaissance papacy in a nutshell.
Power, art, religion, all mixed up.
Italy at that time was so fragmented, right for the taking.
And the church itself was trying to, flex its muscles a bit.
Assert its authority, exactly.
So Julius II comes along, and he's not afraid to use any means necessary.
He was definitely ambitious.
I mean, to oversee this golden age of art in Rome,
And then personally go out and conquer cities.
it's mind-boggling. But let's rewind a bit, back to his roots.
Giuliano della Rovere.
Not exactly born with a silver spoon, right?
No, but his uncle was Pope Sixtus V.
Ah, so family connections helped pave the way.
Let's call it what it is, nepotism. It was pretty common back then.
Still is in some places.
Sure enough. But Julius, or Giuliano at the time, he becomes this powerful cardinal.
The video even says he was called more pope than the pope.
That told you something about his personality, doesn't it?
Definitely a hint of things to come.
But there were some bumps in the road.
Like when he was exiled by Alexander VI, the Borgia pope.
Ah, yes, the Borgias.
I can only imagine the drama, the intrigue.
A whole other deep dive right there.
So what do you think exile taught him? Did it shape him in any way?
Oh, absolutely. It forced him to be strategic,
Hone his political skills?
build alliances,
And I bet it fueled his desire to return to power.
and make sure nothing like that could happen again.
So in 1503, he finally achieves his goal.
Becomes Pope Julius II.
Even his choice of name is interesting, isn't it?
Invoking Julius Caesar.
Like he's saying, I'm here to be a Roman emperor, not just a pope.
It's a statement.
A bold one.
He wants a powerful papacy, one that commands respect.
And he's not just talking the talk, is he?
Not at all. The video talks about his obsession with expanding the papal states.
Recapturing cities, personally leading armies.
Perugia, Bologna, he was right there on the front lines.
I mean, Machiavelli saw him enter Perugia, risking his life.
To make a point.
To show everyone who was in charge.
A calculated risk, but it paid off.
And Bologna, there's this whole grand spectacle when he returns after retaking it.
Like something out of ancient Rome.
Chariots, triumphal arches, coins being tossed to the crowd.
Julius II understood the power of image.
A real showman.
And it worked.
So he's using excommunication, interdicts,
Spiritual weapons.
but also sieges and armies.
Military might.
Do you think he saw any conflict in using both?
Some historians say no,
That he believed temporal power was essential for the church.
to protect its spiritual authority.
Others say he was more pragmatic.
Whatever worked, right?
Yeah, ends justify the means kind of thing.
Maybe.
But then we have Venice, a powerful republic,
Expanding their territory, making everyone nervous.
including Julius II.
Of course.
So he forms the League of Cambrai.
France, the papacy, Spain, all united against Venice.
What a power play.
It was, and it led to the Battle of Agnadello in 1509.
A crushing defeat for Venice.
The video describes the battlefield just littered with bodies.
Thousands of casualties.
It really highlights the brutality of those times.
Julius II was willing to use force to get what he wanted.
But then he does something even more unexpected.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
He switches sides.
What?
He absolves Venice, seeing them as a useful ally.
Against France.
Exactly. He even uses this rallying cry, "Out with the barbarians!"
Playing on Italian nationalism.
Brilliant.
So, he forms a new Holy League, this time to kick out the French,
It's like a chess game.
with the fate of Italy hanging in the balance.
And Julius II is playing it masterfully.
Well, we haven't even touched on the art.
Oh, there's so much to talk about.
I want to hear about Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel, all of it.
We'll get there, but first we need to talk about another key figure.
Who's that?
Donato Bramante, the architect behind the new St. Peter's Basilica.
Ah, yes, a true masterpiece.
A story for another time. Welcome back. Ready for more Julius II.
Oh, absolutely, especially the art part.
Right, because we've got the warrior pope, the political mastermind.
But he also had this deep appreciation for art and architecture.
It's part of what makes him so fascinating.
Yeah, like how do those two sides fit together?
Well, he was a smart guy. He understood that art wasn't just pretty pictures.
It was about power too, right?
Exactly. It could shape people's opinions, make him look more legitimate.
So it wasn't just that he liked nice things.
Oh, no, it was a calculated move.
Could enhance the papacy.
The legacy, the whole thing.
So let's talk about Donato Bramante,
Ah, the architect.
the one behind the new St. Peter's Basilica.
A visionary.
I've seen pictures. It's just incredible, the scale of it.
Julius II picked him because he wanted the best.
He wanted to make Rome the center of the Christian world.
To rival ancient Rome in its glory.
And St. Peter's was going to be the crown jewel.
Exactly.
But that must have been a huge undertaking. I mean, the money, the logistics.
Oh, it was a massive project.
But Julius II wasn't one to back down from a challenge.
He poured a fortune into it.
Even using the sale of indulgences to raise funds, which, ironically...
Yeah, that would come back to bite the church later.
The Reformation.
Unintended consequences.
So Bramante designs St. Peter's, but that's not all, right?
Nope. Julius II had him working all over Rome.
Reshaping the city.
Urban renewal, grand avenues, palaces, fountains.
To show off the power of the papacy.
Making Rome worthy of being the capital of Christendom.
So architecture's propaganda.
You could say that.
Every building making a statement.
Rome is the center of the world, and the Pope is in charge.
And then there's Raphael, another giant of the Renaissance.
Those frescoes in the papal apartments.
The video mentions them. They're amazing.
They were designed to convey specific messages.
Political and religious.
Like the School of Athens.
That one's famous.
It shows all these Greek philosophers, but it's really about
the harmony of faith and reason.
One of Julius II's big themes.
So just like with the buildings, the art had a deeper meaning.
Everything was carefully chosen.
To project the image Julius II wanted.
He was a master of that.
And people loved it. There's that story about Raphael's portrait of Julius.
After he died, people thought it was so lifelike.
Like he was still alive?
Raphael truly captured his essence.
A kind of artistic immortality.
But then we have Michelangelo.
Ah, yes, that relationship.
A little more complicated.
I bet. Two strong personalities.
They clashed quite a bit.
But they also produced some incredible work.
Some of the most famous art in history.
So, the Sistine Chapel ceiling, how did that come about?
Well, initially, Julius II had a different plan for Michelangelo.
Really? What was it?
He wanted him to sculpt his grand tomb.
The tomb. So the ceiling was a plan B.
You could say that.
How did that happen?
Well, there are stories about Bramante, jealous of Michelangelo.
Makes sense.
Supposedly, he convinced Julius II that the ceiling would be better.
A more fitting project.
And, you know, it was a huge task.
One that Michelangelo wasn't too keen on at first.
But he came around.
And created a masterpiece.
Truly one for the ages.
But what about the tomb?
Oh, that was a source of frustration for Michelangelo.
Delays, funding problems, changes in design.
Julius II wasn't the easiest client.
Even popes can be indecisive, I guess.
But there's this other story about a statue.
A statue?
A bronze one of Julius II commissioned for Bologna.
A city he had just reconquered.
It was meant to symbolize his power.
So what happened?
A few years later, after Julius died, Bologna revolted.
Against papal rule?
They tore down the statue, melted it down.
Oh, no.
And they used the bronze to make a cannon.
Wow, what a statement.
Art as a weapon, literally.
Julius II's legacy was definitely controversial.
Even in his own time.
So what did the average person think of him?
That's a good question, and it's one we'll explore next time.
I'm ready to hear more. All right, so we've seen Julius II, the warrior, Julius II, the politician.
And Julius II, the art lover.
But what about the people? How did they view this pope who was so different from the ones who came before him?
It's a mixed bag, really. Some people adored him, others not so much.
The video talked about those who saw him as a hero, a new Julius Caesar.
Right, like he was going to make Italy great again, restore its former glory.
There were prints and songs praising him, depicting him as a strong leader.
Bringing peace and order after all the chaos and infighting.
But I'm guessing not everyone bought into that image.
Oh, there were plenty of critics.
What did they say? What were their main issues with him?
A lot of them thought he focused too much on worldly power.
Instead of spiritual matters.
They thought his military campaigns were a betrayal of his role as pope.
Yeah, I mean, a pope leading armies into battle. It's a bit jarring.
It definitely raised eyebrows back then.
And there were those rumors about his personal life, too?
Ah, yes, the Pasquinades.
Those satirical poems and pamphlets.
They didn't hold back. let's just say that.
So even back then, people loved a good scandal,
It shows that public opinion was divided, just like today.
with different groups pushing their own versions of the story.
Makes you wonder how much of what we know is really accurate,
It's all filtered through the lens of whoever was writing about him.
whether they loved him or hated him.
And then there's Erasmus of Rotterdam, the humanist scholar.
He definitely had some strong opinions about Julius II.
His satire, Julius Exclusus,
Oh, that's a classic.
it imagines Julius II trying to get into heaven.
But with an army, no less.
And St. Peter's like, nope, not happening.
It's a pretty scathing critique.
It really exposes that tension between the warrior pope and the spiritual leader.
Erasmus thought he cared more about conquering land than saving souls.
I bet that pamphlet caused quite a stir.
It was meant to be a private joke, but it became a bestseller,
People were clearly ready to criticize the church.
especially its involvement in war and politics.
It's almost like Erasmus predicted the Reformation.
He was calling for a return to simpler faith, to inner piety.
Which was completely at odds with how Julius II was running things. So looking back on all of this, what do we make of Julius II? Was he a good pope or bad pope?
It's not that simple, is it? He's a man of contradictions, like we've been saying,
He strengthened the papal states, that's for sure.
and left behind an incredible artistic legacy.
But at what cost?
He waged wars, played power games, maybe even helped pave the way for the division of the church.
It's amazing how he still fascinates us, even after all these centuries.
He was a true Renaissance man, for better or worse.
Embracing the ambition, the thirst for knowledge and beauty, but also
The ruthlessness and the willingness to break the rules.
he redefined what it meant to be pope.
And his legacy continues to shape our understanding of the church and the world.
Here's a final thought for our listeners. Imagine if Julius II actually did get into heaven.
Like in Erasmus's satire.
What would he say to St. Peter? Would he defend his actions?
Would he express any regrets?
It's something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive into the life of Pope Julius II.
Thanks for joining us.
And keep exploring history. There's always more to discover.